Serious new revelation. I mean a serious new revelation. While I was in Ukraine this time, something happened to me 3 straight days in a row. And when something happens 3 times in a row like that, it'll get your attention. I did many exorcisms, but there were 3 exorcisms I did consecutively in 3 straight days. And they all had the same central theme. The same thing was happening. Now, why is this important? Are you going to video me?
I'm videoing you.
Okay. Well, put that down.
Okay. Already.
Point the good one.
Okay.
It's rolling.
All right.
And let's do this right. And you give me your name and address, and I'll send you a copy.
Okay.
Just sit right there and point that at me.
All right. It's recording, isn't it?
Do I look good? Can you hold your hand steady?
You look great, Bob.
Hold your hand steady. Is this steady?
Yes. Of course. Of course.
What's your first name, sir?
Leland.
Hi, Leland. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to give that to somebody in the front row, and I didn't know who to do it, and so you were doing that anyway, so I decided to do it. Now, here's what happened to me. Over a period of 3 days, I met the same demon. And I had never met this demon 3 times in a row. And you would think with all the demons I met, the many times I met demons, that wouldn't be a big deal. But this was. The first case was in a city called Nova Moscos. And it was one of the students at our school of exorcism. She manifested demons. I noticed that while I was ministering to her, she sat on the front row just nodding, smiling in agreement with me the whole time, and she traveled hundreds of miles just to come and learn deliverance. Well, when I walked down to her with my cross, she manifested. And through that process, I learned that 3 generations earlier, her parents, she was from Russia, as part of the Soviet Union, were practicing Christians persecuted for their faith, and they were raped and murdered. Her ancestors. I looked at this young woman. One arm was covered with scars from having cut herself, and the other arm had a massive scar about like that, scar tissue, where as a drug addict she had injected and it got infected. She'd been involved in prostitution, she'd been sexually abused, her life had been hell. And there was a demon behind all of this. The next day, I worked with another woman. This woman was 4 times divorced and working on the 5th man. She too had had a lifetime of abuse, molestation, pain, alcohol and drug problems. And I learned in her particular case that she had a curse going back to the sacrifice of a child to a demon god. In fact, I forgot to mention in the first story that I told you, she too had an ancestor, long before the communists, that had sacrificed babies to this god. One of the interesting things about this second exorcism that I did is that this woman, who speaks absolutely no English, in the middle of the exorcism, the demon starts speaking English. And I normally work through an interpreter, and I finished the whole exorcism in English, which really blew the minds of the people who were watching. The next day, I'm in a town. I won't even give you the name of it because it's too hard to pronounce. But it's one of the most important cities in Ukraine. It is the site of the largest nuclear power plant in all of Europe. It powers Spain and Portugal and Germany. 3rd largest nuclear power plant in the world. There's an audience of about 500 plus people. It's all they could get in there. We had standing room only. And as I walked throughout the audience, I saw a 28-year-old young man look at me and manifest demons. I brought him up on stage. He was in a drug rehab program, had never given his heart to the Lord. So I led him to Christ there on stage and then went after his demons. He was violent. We had 7 of the biggest men we could find, and they come big in Ukraine. And they were hanging on to him as hard and tough as they could and barely control him. And we finally got down to the main demon. And here it was again. Same demon. There because of an ancient blood sacrifice. And I started thinking about this demon. And I realized that as in classical Satanism and the occult, he's recognized as one of the 7 princes of hell. And as the progenitor of one of the classical Christian 7 deadly sins, I had seldom dealt with him. And yet I found him 3 times in 3 days. Now here's what's interesting. Really interesting. In each particular case, there was a blood sacrifice. In each case, it was an infant sacrifice. In each case, it was a blood covenant, multi-generational. And in each case, the demon that manifested before him was Jezebel. Now, if you followed our ministry, you perhaps heard me say, I run into Jezebel more than any other demon. And it's true. If you go to my YouTube site, you'll find about half the exorcisms are Jezebel. And there's some people who say, well, that's just be Bob's thing. He just keeps running into Jezebel. And I do. There are no shortage of Jezebel demons. Now, just so that you understand, there's not one Jezebel demon. There are many Jezebel demons. It's a name. It's a type, if you will. It's a category of demons. They all function pretty much the same. By the way, I'm writing a book right now. It'll be out in the spring, maybe before I even get back here, on the subject of Jezebel. Wow. But that's for another discussion. So I run into Jezebel a lot. And Jezebel is the spirit of our age. If you look at Revelation 20, that's very clear. Jezebel is the spirit of perversion and pornography, of sexual seduction and lust and all molestation and rape and sexual evil. This is the demon that destroys churches and pastors and Christian leaders and brings them down by seduction and control and manipulation. That's not new. And I'm not the only person who's ever dealt with Jezebel. And there are books which have been written on the subject, and pastors and Christian leaders who have talked about this and show concern for Jezebel being in the church and being in the lives of people. I'm not suggesting that this demon replaces Jezebel. But the revelation that God gave me was very, very interesting. And it's this. Very simple. This demon has been hiding more ubiquitously than I could have ever imagined under my nose for many years behind Jezebel. Jezebel is out front, providing cover for this demon. And this demon stays in the background, hidden, as one of the 7 princes of hell, as one of the 7 deadly sins. And in neither of those categories do we find Jezebel. Now, here's something else interesting the Lord showed me from Scripture. The Bible talks a lot about what demons do. They bring infirmity, such as the daughter of Abraham. They try to get people to kill themselves, such as the young man who was thrown into the water and the fire. They make people halt, lame, blind, mute, deaf. So the Bible recounts what demons do. But the Bible doesn't say much about the names of demons. Now, a few names are there. Belial, Beelzebub, Abaddon, Apollyon, Legion. So when a demon is named in the Bible, it's really important. Because it doesn't talk much about names. Now, there are a lot of names in the spirit world. I could give you a long list of them as I've encountered them in casting out demons. Hundreds of thousands of them. And I could probably list for you the top 100 pretty quickly that I run into most. These are common household names of demons that torment people and are very active in our world. But there's something unique about this demon. And I got to thinking about it. This is the demon that starts wars, breaks up families, brings down pastors. And it isn't always Jezebel, because he works with Jezebel, and Jezebel is his consort in the spirit world. And it wasn't until in Ukraine, of all places, were 3 successive times I ran into this demon. The Bible speaks of this demon. More importantly, Jesus speaks of this demon. And it's the only demon in Scripture about which Christ said, we must make a choice. Gospel of Matthew, 6th chapter, the 24th verse. No one can serve 2 masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and Mammon. Mammon. Now, if you look up in Bible commentaries, as I did, that word, here's what you'll find. And after those 3 successive encounters with Mammon, I stayed up to 4 o'clock in the morning seeking the Lord, and I looked to see what Bible commentators say. And they all say the same thing, and they're all wrong. Did you ever read what the Bible commentators have to say about 2 Timothy 1:7? God has not given us the spirit of fear. You can read it, and they will tell you. That means that God does not give us the attitude of fear. Like fear is an emotional condition only. Well, that's because they don't believe in spiritual warfare. But the Bible says God does not give us the spirit of fear. God does not give us the demon of fear. Fear is a demon. Now, I don't mean that if you have fear, you're a demon, but if you give in to fear enough, you will get that demon. So when these commentators say that it just means money, well, half right. Yeah, it does mean money. But Jesus could have used another word. He could have said money. He didn't say money. He said Mammon, the ancient Assyrian god to whom children were sacrificed and to whom blood covenants were made for money and power and lust and control and avarice and greed. And I got to tell you, that hit me like a ton of bricks. And you've heard what these other people have so kindly said about me, and I'm so appreciative of their words. But there really isn't anybody on the planet who knows any more about this stuff than I do. So when I'm hit with a ton of bricks, it's a ton of bricks. When I'm impacted by something, it's an impact. And what the Lord showed me was, yes, you have been meeting Jezebel. Yes, Jezebel is that powerful. But what you missed is this. In some cases, hiding behind Jezebel was Mammon. And you didn't get Mammon because Jezebel took all the heat.
Wow.
And I said, why, Lord? Why in all these years did I not see that? And the Lord said, well, because you got that curse.
Wow.
Whoa. And the Lord said, look at your own family. So I did. Now my dad's side, they were all Christians. My father had 13 brothers and sisters, and he won them all to the Lord before he died.
Amen.
But not on my mother's side. Russian, German Jews. And my grandfather was the coldest, stingiest, one of the hardest, cruelest people I've ever known. He died when I was about 17. He never gave me a hug, never gave me a kiss, never touched me, never gave me a birthday present, never gave me a dime. He died a mega millionaire. And that many years ago, that was a lot of money. Imagine what it would be today. Now, he had 2 daughters and 3 sons. What happened to his 5 children? Well, my mother found the Lord.
Amen. Praise the Lord.
That's why I'm here. Her sister died in her early 50s of cancer. One of the 3 sons, one of them in his 50s, dropped dead of a heart attack. The other 2 suffered disease, strokes, heart attacks, debilitation their whole lives. And yet they were all financially successful. The one who dropped dead of a heart attack in his 50s was a multimillionaire businessman. The other 2 were doctors and extremely wealthy. And what kind of chaos happened to Grandpa's grandkids? Mr. Cold, hard, had the first dollar he ever made. Well, his grandkids, my cousins, turned out thusly. One of them was president of the American Bar Association. That's pretty prestigious. Flew around in a private jet. By the time he was in his mid-50s, he was put in a nursing home. He had lost his mind from cocaine addiction. Another one was a wealthy doctor in Texas. Mega millionaire. Went on a hunting trip, fell out of the back of a pickup, hit his head on a rock. Never again performed another operation and lost his career. Another one of my cousins, in his mid-50s, had prostate cancer. Let's just say he lost it all, if you know what I mean. And the other one, a wealthy doctor, 5 heart attacks and 5 wives. Out of all the grandchildren, there's only one who has had health and good life and success.
Amen.
Amen.
Now, I just might be close to it. I know you'll be shocked. The oldest person in this room. Okay, so I don't look like it, but I would challenge any of you to try to keep the pace with me for one day, especially if you're about a third of my age. Sorry, son, you won't survive. I've got strength, I've got energy, I've got enthusiasm, I've got determination. I survived a heart attack and near death in 2012, and acute diverticulitis, nearly died in 2011, and I'm still kicking the devil's butt and casting out more demons every day than I ever have.
Wait.
And I'm going to keep doing it. Because I've broken the curses on my life. Well, there's one curse I missed. I missed it. I should have seen it. Grandpa was there for all to see.
Right.
And the destruction and the misery that the economic gain of Mammon gave him ended up in a living hell for his children and grandchildren, save one. Only my mother and me. Now, my point is this. This is the only demon that Jesus directly spoke to by name without the demon speaking to him, and the only other occasion was Legion, and Legion spoke to him. This is the only demon about which Jesus said, you must make a choice. He didn't say that about any other demon. He didn't say, you have to choose between God and rejection. You have to choose between God and lust. You have to choose between God and Beelzebub. You have to choose between God and Abaddon. You have to choose between God and Asmodeus. He said you have to choose between God and Mammon. Now here's the problem. Some of you had your ancestors make that choice for you. So maybe you wonder why. In spite of a good education, you have a problem keeping the